Hello to our audience and welcome to the MAPcast, where we shine a spotlight on leaders in the B2B space who have invaluable experience and insights to share. Today, we're talking to Michael Kleyman with Kleycom, one of the leading telco resellers in the Los Angeles area. Michael, it's great to finally meet you.
Pleasure is all mine. Thanks for having me.
Can you share a bit about your background and kind of how you got to where you are today with Kleycom? How did you end up where you are?
I came from over a decade in the corporate world where I worked for some of the biggest publicly traded companies, some smaller privately held companies, and boutique companies that specialize in voice, data, and cloud solutions. And after 10 years in corporate environment and their structure, I just kind of got a little burnt out and thought to myself, there's got to be a better way to do things and better way to manage and just more to telecom than just, the corporate environment. And after working for Spectrum and seeing the transition from Time Warner to Spectrum and everything that kind of went on into that transition and being promoted from small business to enterprise sales and area director roles, I kind of saw myself wondering, well, the promotions are nice, but I just feel like there's more to me than just being a corporate 9 to 5 person. And that's when I took kind of a leap of faith and decided to start looking into running my own shop. I was approached by a small boutique VoIP company who was expanding, and they just made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And I jumped right into with this VoIP company. Worked there for just under 2 years. They had overextended themselves, and I was one of the highest paid associates there. And one day I get approached, and they're like, "Hey, you're killing it. We don't want to lose you, but we're hemorrhaging money. We need to take a step back. Are you able to take a hairline cut?" And I thought to myself, well, newly married, hairline cut, what does that look like? And
Right.
that's when they launched, they kind of threw out their version of a hairline cut. And I'm like, that's not a hairline. You're taking me at the neck. And I came home that night a little discouraged, a little upset, and just thinking to myself, look, I've delayed this long enough. I have to bet on myself. And nobody's going to work harder for me than me. Nobody's going to give me a handout. It's either I make a decision right now that I'm moving full force, 100% betting on myself, or I'm going right back into a bigger corporate entity. And so came home, discussed it with my wife, said, look, this is the situation. What are your thoughts? So my wife's initial reaction was, wow, that's more than a hairline cut. What's going to happen? I mean, again, we just got married several months before. Mind you,
Right.
this is actually about 6, 7 months before the country went into lockdown. This is 2019 around November time. So,
Holy
um,
cow.
yeah, so this was kind of one of those things where this was a make or break, but we had no idea COVID was on the horizon.
Right.
This was just one of those things I got presented with, and the way corporations do this, it's smart, it's corporate, it's ethics, it's political, but they made it seem that this was going to be a benefit. This hairline cut was going to be a benefit. That they're raising my commission to such a degree that it's going to offset it, but they asked for me to take a 40% reduction. And yeah, I was a six-figure earner in corporate. That was just the base. Great benefits, great everything.
Yeah.
And it's hard to leave that type of condition, that type of system where you can punch in and punch out. You got your free time, you got your benefits, you have your ability for sick pay and leave, and they got you the vacation days. Honestly, some people need that, and I'm
Yep.
not going to say anything about those people, but to me, once you kind of go on your own, you kind of realize it's a little bit of a scam. It really is, because you're trading dollars for your time, but how much is your time really worth? For some people that are used to that structure, great. Maybe they're not worth more than, and I say that full respectfully, of course. Maybe they're
Yeah.
not worth
Yeah.
more than 120,000 a year. Maybe they're not worth more than 150,000 a year. And that's great. And that's fine. And there's no problem with that. Some people need that line of structure. Some people need that knowledge of, I know where I'm getting my paycheck. I know where it's coming from, and I know this is what I can depend on. For the more entrepreneurial spirits, for the more people that can bet on themselves, they just don't take no for an answer. They're with the grind, they're with the hustle, and believe me, starting your own business, it's nothing but grind and hustle. So if somebody
Right.
if somebody is a little weak-hearted and they're not ready to undertake that venture, it could be a slap in the face. It could be a real rude awakening. You got to be prepared, and you got to plan out accordingly. So in my case, kind of got, the families, my wife kind of said, look, I trust you, do what you need to do. Literally the next day, Kleycom Consulting was born. And, I trademarked myself right away because it was something that I was thinking even back when I was at Spectrum, about a year and a half, almost 2 years prior. It was something that was kind of always building up. Like there's got to be a better way for me to work with these clients. I really got kind of tired of making up excuses for corporate process, corporate procedures, corporate, red tape, just corporate stuff,
Yeah, no, I
Um,
can relate. Absolutely.
and it just really kind of at the heart of it, you always got to protect the corporation, and if you don't, you're gonna find yourself quickly at the end of the short leash. And after a few arguments with leadership at some of these companies where I don't want to say I was their favorite, but I was on great terms. You kind of go into a space where now all of a sudden you're backing up the client, you're backing up your case, and they're like, and I'll never forget one of my mentors, and it doesn't matter who it is because I still talk to this guy, and he's a friend of mine, but he's like, hey Mike, at the end of the day, don't forget what team you're on. So go back to the client, put this out there, tell them this is what we can do, and just be done with it. It's a yes, yes, no, no, and it's like kind of scratch your head going, well, sure, it's a yes, yes, no, no, but your yes, yes, no, no clearly affects my bottom line also.
Right.
So now you're affecting my pocket. Now you're affecting me. Your cushy little salary is great, but I have a couple of accounts that are worth potentially triple triple the salary, and not to mention the ROI for the corporation. So
Right.
I implore you to please reconsider. Shook his head, said no, made my case, huffed and puffed for a little bit, did nothing. And so it led me to just kind of realize that corporations are great, but there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of stuff around it, it's corporate structure and process. I didn't want to be a part of that anymore. So
Yeah.
I opened up Kleycom Consulting in 2019, and really did not take no for an answer with anything. I old customers, went back to customers that I could not work with back at these corporate companies, trademarked myself just because I had to kind of envision to brand myself. So
Hmm.
Kleycom, a better way to telecom. And we truly are, because when I built this company, I built it on a few fundamental principles. These principles are very simple. Do right by the client, always be honest, upfront, and direct, and be as impartial and unbiased as can be. So when I structured Kleycom Consulting, I went out to a number of top companies and I said, look, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. I would like to partner up with your company on the wholesale channel side. Now, for anybody who's really looking to join telecom, to give you a short snippet of a background of telecom, there is so much money in between. There's a reason why the AT&Ts and the Frontiers and the Spectrums and the Lumens and all these major corporations, there's a reason why they're billion-dollar companies.
Right.
Is there is so much in between capital that they make and they have, that's why they can afford to employ thousands of people, giving them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, because all the in between delta on the finance side that it costs to deliver the service is astronomical.
All right.
So here I'm selling a service that, of course, is benefiting the customer, that is several $1,000s, but it costs them less than a couple of $100s to deploy, and a
Hmm.
couple of $100s to manage, and a couple of $100s to maybe condition and keep up and running, while they're making tens of thousands a month off each
Of course.
potential deal. And so once I got into this other side, or what I like to call the wholesale channel side, it really quickly became evident that two things. One, there's a lot of money to be made in between. So you know, there's no need to gouge clients. And two, there's a lot of business out there. So I'm really not in competition. I feel I'm not in competition with any consulting firms. And that's why I really offer my consulting services to other consultants.
Huh.
And that's what kind of sets me apart. I have absolutely no reason to battle another consulting firm that is doing the same thing. I'm actually friends with a lot of them. We meet at
That's
networking
that's
events,
that's
and
really unique. So how has your role changed since you've been in business now 5 years? What's really changed about your role? Have you hired other sales reps?
Yeah,
Have you grown quite a bit?
yeah. So one of the things I realized real quick about any small business, and this came from years in multiple businesses and different industries, 90% I think of small businesses fail for a few reasons. One of the main reasons is one, they overextend themselves.
Hmm.
They really kind of jump the gun. You're ran by an idea of it takes money to make money, and that's true in many regards. But a lot of people basically sacrifice a lot of their own capital, and they throw a ton of money waiting for that return on investment, but they really put themselves in a dangerous position where what if the return on investment isn't exactly what they thought of? What if their
Right.
margins aren't as high as they should be? What if there's unexpected situations that pop up and they put themselves at risk? And I've had friends that actually, mortgaged their homes and then took out HELOCs and done some serious,
Yep.
detrimental things
I've
potentially.
seen the same. Yep, for
And
sure.
it's kind of scary. So what I did is I pride myself on kind of learning from other people's mistakes. And
Hmm.
I've seen where some of these larger entities have gone and done right. And I've seen where some of them have kind of failed. And the same thing with small business. This isn't my first small business. I was actually a partner many years ago at another company that I did not run, had a little bit of say, and I saw it go up and down. And I
Right.
saw that what not to do. And, so it's very important not to overextend yourself. So what I did personally is I focused on my key strengths. What are my key strengths that I don't want to outsource? Something that I can plot out day in and day out that I can actually structure myself and accomplish it with complete confidence. Everything else I look to outsource, but I
Uh-huh.
outsource smart. So unfortunately, we live in a time where I've interviewed a lot of people with my company, and you get a lot of these new kids, and no disrespect to them, but they'll sit there with their legs crossed, and they're kind of like sitting there like that. Oh well, I won't work for anything less than $10 million an hour. And it's
Oh
like,
yeah, I hire BDRs in my company, and these kids right out of college are asking
are
for the world.
it's
Yeah.
entitlement. It's
Yeah.
entitlement. Maybe I'm a little different. I mean, I was born in the early '80s, and just I remember what hard work was about. And
Hmm.
to sit there and be entitled and ask for something that you completely aren't cut out for. And I'm willing to give people chances. I'm a very open-minded person. But once I had a few of them sit there and they don't even look happy. They're just kind of like sitting there. They throw a resume at you, and it like, why do you want to be into telecom? Why do you were a barista? You were in auto and collision. You were in insurance. Like, what makes you think you're in a position to ask for 150,000, $200,000 a year to be in this industry right off the bat? Well, I have experience. Well, you don't have experience in this industry. And
Right.
so what I did actually is I decided to take a chance at outsourcing into virtual assistants. And so I have a team out in the Philippines, very well spoken, very smart. And you realize real quick is the culture difference. These people
Hmm.
actually want to work their butt off. And it's amazing when you actually have a person that
Appreciates their
contacts you,
job. Yeah.
not just appreciates their
Yeah.
job, but will go above and beyond. And
Yeah.
it's like you don't see that anymore here. And it's like people want to do the least amount of work and try to get the most amount. And listen, we're all human, of course, that in a perfect world, but there's a new trend going on that I heard. It's like I think it's like called quiet quitting or something like that, where somebody who's not interested in their job, they'll come in, they'll do the bare minimum, they'll just do enough to hold down their job, but never go overboard and
I
then never go over or try to, you know,
no,
it
I've seen it myself. Just in general, you've been in the telecom industry for a lot longer than 5 years. So beyond
15.
just your experience with Kleycom, what major shifts or trends, and I'm not talking about technology, but shifts or trends have you seen in the industry, and how do you kind of foresee the industry moving forward?
Great question. I think over the last 5 to 7 years, even prior to COVID, it's all cloud based now.
Yep.
Everything is cloud based.
Yep.
It's now the only thing that really matters is where is your information stored and how quickly can you access it. It's ultimately comes down to the storage and the application transport method, which allows you to access that information from anywhere. Now,
Right.
as long as you have a good solid internet connection, you're pretty much golden at this point. I think the industry has moved away from anything on-prem. Now, there are certain industries that just, for certain compliancy, they'll require something on-prem. But for the most part, a lot of clients that I've had spoken to in the last even decade that have on-prem servers or had on-prem phone systems or any on-prem devices have now shifted and moved everything over to the cloud. Their
Yep.
VoIP, their storage, their security. Even companies like Cato that I'm a partner with that gives you one single pane of glass for all your cybersecurity needs is an amazing fit forward because
Hmm.
it takes away a couple of things. One, it takes away the hokey bulky equipment that you have to store and monitor and manage. And if a power supply burns out or if something needs to be replaced, that's thousands of dollars potentially. Not to mention a lot of this equipment is sensitive. You need
Yep.
to have it, kind of elevated floors or some kind of fanning system to keep these machines cool. So I think the cloud and being able to access this amazing thing that we call the cloud and ultimately just need a solid connection to get your information. And it's been around. Nothing I'm
Yep.
saying now is that brand new.
Isn't that amazing though that we've been in this kind of cloud environment and just building on it for a couple of decades now?
Yeah, I think that's because a lot of people had a lot of doubts about it, and
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of it had to do with security, and
Yep.
I understand. I deal with a lot of
Yep.
major law firms where, they're like major law firms or hospitals or hospitality, where they're like, how can I do it if somebody breaks into the cloud, as they just call it, and they get access to our clients or our customers and stuff like that. So I
Oh
think
yeah.
that just in general, the cloud has come a long way with security, and there's still a lot that relies on the customer themselves, but I think we have a good handle on it.
So it sounds like your business has shifted somewhat from a pure telecom focus to a network focus. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think at the heart, what our company stands on is just being that impartial consulting
Right.
firm. Because we don't, if a customer is happy with their system, if a customer is happy with their provider, if they're happy with what they are, the beauty of what we do personally at Kleycom Consulting and the way we structure not just our entire organization, but also the way we organize partnerships with our carriers, is
Hmm.
that we can truly say that we're unbiased. Because if you yourself are happy with your existing services, with your existing provider, we don't ask you to change. I'll show you some options, but if you're happy with your existing services, great. I can simply utilize my company's wholesale pricing line to go to your exact provider and price out something that is 100% better, and usually will be anywhere from 25 to 40% less than
Hmm.
what you guys are paying right now. So for us, we really can say that we're unbiased. For us, it doesn't matter,
Okay.
and we do right by the client always.
This is fascinating. So just based on from when you started the business to now, what's working really well for you, just consistently, and what's been the most frustrating thing? And not just owning your own business, but the nuts and bolts of running your own business. What do you think's been most frustrating for you compared to
Hmm.
what's been working really well?
So the things that have been working really well are a few of the teams that I've implemented. I have a great team out in the Philippines that I got through a company that's also a network partner of ours.
Uh-huh.
It's an organization called Stellar Staff, and
Now, do
they're
they
they're
handle
great.
just your all your back office stuff?
Yeah, they handle, so they're actually a virtual assistant company. And so
Got it.
they hire professionals within my field. They monitor them, they train them. Actually, a lot of the guys that work for me came from, bigger corporations. Some are in telco, some weren't. But I got to interview these people. I got to understand who they are, what their background was before I got them on my team. And if for whatever reason it doesn't work out, I can always switch them out. But that's been very helpful to my organization because I'm able to put in very little capital into the lead gen part of it with them, and they just kind of run with it. And the ROI from that is, I mean, I'd have to look at the numbers, but is just tremendous.
That's
Um,
fantastic. So they do all your cold outreach, basically?
They do a lot of cold outreach. I'm
Huh?
actually going back to them because this company is so well deep into that market. What I want to do is start doing a lot of videos for social media and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And I looked at a couple of companies here. It doesn't matter what their names are, but look with some of the big players, and they're tens of thousands of dollars a month for them
Yep.
just to put on a couple of videos per week, like a phone. I mean, come on, at the end of the day, well, it's telecom. It's not like I need some amazing stuff. There's nothing sexy about what I do.
Right.
It's absolutely necessary what I provide, but there's nothing fancy about what I provide.
Sure.
It's very dry. But at the end of the day, it's something that everybody needs. Everybody utilizes. That companies can't do without it anymore.
Yep.
But
Absolutely.
but I went to them and actually recently had a conversation with the gentleman who's actually become a friend of mine, and he goes, "Oh yeah, actually we could do that for you. We'll actually look into it a little deeper for you since you're a good customer and we've partnered up on stuff." He goes, "I'll find somebody who actually designs like short films, and I'll
Mhm.
have him take on this account." And we'll do some really cool stuff with AI and the kind of like motion picture motion and stuff like that,
Uh-huh.
where we'll get your social media these ads like almost like a feature film. And I'm like, that's incredible. So that's kind of the next thing I'm venturing in, and going to be interviewing some of these people that he brings to me, and seeing
Yep.
what they can bring to the table on the social media.
Yeah.
Another thing that's absolutely imperative, and I probably would not be where I am today if I didn't structure this part. So I have a number of sales guys, and they're great, and they do their thing. They're in charge of their own accounts from beginning to end. I don't have to babysit. I don't have to worry about it. They they're really telecom professionals, and they're literally a part of the family. But I decided a few years ago to open up another, and this is where entrepreneurs really need to be intelligent in kind of like opening their mind and figuring out what all aspects can generate capital. So at one point, this idea came to mind where not everybody is a telecom specialist. Why am I going to try to train telecom specialists or train people in telecom that have no reason to want to be in telecom? So I decided to start a section of my company that is a referral network, but I
Uh-huh.
call them referral agents. So I opened up a channel where anyone who has access to businesses is able to partake into the immense capital that is comes in telecom. And I have about 30 referral agents, and they make up actually a large segment of the capital that comes into Kleycom. These are IT professionals, these are insurance agents, these are some MSPs, some managed service providers.
Uh-huh.
Commercial real estate guys are a big thing. So I have a number of partners that are in the commercial real estate space, and they prove to be invaluable simply because they come in contact with so many businesses and business owners that are looking for space.
Right.
It's an easy segue. And kind of low key, I reached out to a lot of partners that work at these telecom companies, and it's unfortunate that all these telecom companies can't cover the major part of the United States. And
Yep.
what happens? They usually turn down deals. So I basically let them know that there's an alternative way. Don't let me affect your business and corporation. Don't let me, I'm not looking to step on anybody's toes, but there's a ton of business that you come around, a business that you just can't do. Either you don't have that type of service that the client needs, or it doesn't pass ROI for that corporation, or it doesn't pass ROE, or there could be, a number of factors. Don't
Right.
leave money on the table. So I opened up that referral channel for anyone and everyone that has an opportunity or knows businesses that need voice, data, cloud, cybersecurity, any type of telecom service. And we cover absolutely everything end to end. To be able to come to me, you don't need telecom experience. You let me run the show, pass in the information, let me contact them, and we find out what's needed. My team takes everything A to Z. And the beauty of it, they get compensated and get compensated quite well for simply passing on a referral.
Very
So
nice. Very nice.
it's a win-win for everyone. So
Okay.
one of the things that struggled, I guess, is you reach a plateau in every business where you kind of everything is working, and you realize the next step is really you either have to duplicate yourself personally,
Right.
or you have to throw a bunch of capital at it. So I think the hardest part for me is understanding right now at my company is the next step is how much capital will I need to put out there
Mm.
and for what exactly? Because I'm a well-oiled machine. We're doing well. We're constantly growing. My partners are making six figures residually. We're cooking.
Fantastic.
And so, but at this point, I have to be very, very smart with where funds go, because I'm at a tipping point where I can either excel past that next, 7-figure mark,
Right.
or if I make a wrong move, it might, push me back some.
Yep.
And we're prepared as a company. So kind of one of the things that keeps me up at night is I'm prepared for all aspects. But I think that's one of the things that is that I'm at a crucial point. Probably what I want to mention. One of the main things that business owners really need to understand is it's actually very important to pivot.
Yep.
I'll use that word a lot. Is if something's not working, some people have it like really a hard set where it's like, no, this has got to work. This is what needs to happen. This is what needs to happen. Where in reality, all they need is a slight shift or a pivot, and it could open a completely new door or a completely new avenue. And it's actually what happened with one of the things. Because when I had my outsourcing team, when I first put it out there, I tried to train them how to do IT and try to train them how to do telecom.
Yep.
And I realized these people, only one out of the six really knew telecom, and he's not obviously as well versed as I am. And I thought to myself, I just, I beat my head for a month trying to get them up to speed on how to speak to these clients about telecom. And randomly, I got a call about how I think California is doing on their leadership. This was like years ago. And I sat there, and at that point, I had a 3-month-old. And this person calls, goes, "Hey, we want to talk to you about leadership." And I start talking to them, and I'm taking the survey as my wife is going, "Babe, I need your help. Babe, I need your help. Can you come?" And that night, I didn't think anything of it, but her and I kind of got into a little argument, going, "I needed your help," and I was like, "Well, listen, I was they asking me questions, and I wanted
Right.
to just give them my." And at night, as I went to sleep, I had this kind of epiphany where I had to jump out of bed, and I had to start writing things down. The epiphany was this: most people love to hear themselves speak. I'm guilty. I'm one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But most people like to give their opinions. Why am I sitting there training my staff about things that they don't care about, things that they'll never utilize outside of my company? I need to teach them how to speak to people. I
Yeah.
need to teach them how to present well. And that epiphany happened. I'm like, we are no longer, for the outsourcing side, we're no longer going to be talking about IT and telecom. We're going to be doing surveys. That right there changed the entire model for everyone on my outsourcing team. Now they basically contact these customers, and they're like, "Hey, we want to do a quick survey on what your thoughts are on with your existing provider." I'm going to jump right into it. Takes 10 seconds or takes 30 seconds. They don't even take a breath. They don't even let the person on the other line really understand what their positioning is, but it's simple questions.
Yeah.
Are you happy with your existing service provider? In the last 18 months, have there been any issues that you did not get met? On a scale from 1 to 10, do you feel you're paying a fair amount for the services? So I came up with a strategy of about 5, 6 questions, but they're really in-depth questions, and it's mostly kind of yes or no, or kind of like a range of like sort of happy, somewhat happy, extremely happy. And that opened the door for the customer themselves to realize, oh, I did have this. Oh, this did cost me money. Oh, I'm not that. I thought I was happy, but with this provider, but it did have issues. And that's where, at the end of the day, I get all this aggregated data. So when my team or even myself, because I like to, take advantage of, I like to stay up to date. So I myself also do a lot of outreach as well. When I
Yep.
call these customers, I already have all the information I need from them. I know that they've had issues in the last 18 months. I know that they feel that they're overpaying. I
Oh,
know that,
brilliant.
they pretty much what their situation is. And
Right.
at that point, it's a completely different discussion. So I think that for me, which I didn't mention prior, was a really big game changer.
That's very similar to the way I kind of handle my business as well. I mean, my favorite question to ask customers or prospects is, what happens if you don't do anything?
Yeah. There's a
What,
cost
what
to that too.
what's the result of not doing anything? And that usually it's sort of a challenging question, and gets them thinking. So if you had a magic wand and you could improve, one thing about the business, or anything that's kind of hindering you or slowing down your progress, what do you think that one thing would be?
I guess not enough hours in the day. I mean, per personally, but
I have that problem personally. Yeah.
there's just not enough hours in the day unless you're just kind of a single young person. A lot of people have families and kids and
Yep.
responsibilities and stuff like that. So it's really hard to find the time to really just keep that engine running. But it's hard to say what that one thing would be right now. But
Sure.
it's something I would definitely would think about.
Yeah, but if you could speak to your younger self before all this started, about starting your own company, what advice would you give your younger self?
Buy Bitcoin when it's 30 cents. Buy Bitcoin.
I
Google.
actually, I actually, I was about to buy about 10 Bitcoins for about $100 a piece.
Wow.
And the price dumped. It went down to like $5, and I was like, thank goodness I didn't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, if we'd all had the vision, none of us would have jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. True
We'd
that.
be golfing and hanging out with our families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
So
Very true.
this has been a really good conversation, Michael. I hope we get the opportunity to talk again. I want to thank you very much for joining the podcast today, and we're really grateful to be able to share your insights with our listeners.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Hey, it's been a fantastic pleasure. I really enjoyed talking to you.
The pleasure is all mine. Thanks again for having
I
me.
hope we meet again. Take care.
Me too. Take
All
care.
right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.